Do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This is the plaintiff, Jen Ryan. She says she hired the defendant to run the visual portion of a performance she was putting on at the Fringe Festival in New York this past summer. He would project pictures, images, and moving video behind her while she performed her show. The defendant told her he needed to buy a DVD burner to make the DVDs that would be used during the show. Now he refuses to return it and claims she gave it to him as a gift. What's up with that? She's suing for $200, the amount of the DVD burner. This is the defendant, Brendan Roach. He says he and the plaintiff verbally agreed they'd split the cost of the DVD burner, and the half she paid for would be used as part of his pay for the performance. So of course he still has it. Problem with the plaintiff is she talks and talks, and it goes in one ear and out the other. He's accused of burning up his boss. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $360 for monies owed and other supplies.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
They were misfiring, they weren't working, they weren't in coordination with...
What do you mean they were misfiring?
For instance, Mr. Sansone can attest to this a little better as well. A certain scene where we would be talking about Leni Riefenstahl's contribution to history. Toshiba was on the screen at one point.
And welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff hired the defendant to run the audio-visual portion of a show that she was doing, but she claims he pilfered the cost of the DVD burner. Now she's the one who's burned because he kept the equipment. Time for the performance of a lifetime. It's the case of Lights, Camera, Action.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Miss Ryan, you are suing Mr. Roach for $200 for a DVD burner of yours that he is keeping. Tell me what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a playwright. I'm the author, producer, and I was the actor in a play that was produced this year in the New York International Fringe Festival.
Tell me about the New York International Fringe.
The Fringe Festival is actually the largest multi-arts festival in North America. About 1,500 shows apply to get in every year, and they take only about 150. They perform in more than 20 venues. In New York City, it's dance, theater, music, comedy, performance. Mine happened to be a play, a two-person play starring myself and Mr. Rick Sansone. The play was about the documentary filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl, who came to notorious fame as the documentarian of the Third Reich and who also was a pioneer in sports cinematography and photography. And I have been trying to tell her extraordinary life story for quite some time, and finally had the opportunity to do that this year with the play that I wrote in the Fringe Festival. There's a couple of production stills from our postcard.
Oh, let me see. So you hire him to do what?
I hired the defendant to design, execute, and to create, execute, and design the visual projections to go along with my play.
So, okay, let me see if I got the picture here.
Okay.
You're doing the play.
Yes.
It's simple for me. All right, and then he's got a projector.
Yes.
And the projector is projecting pictures behind you on a what?
On a muslin screen.
Okay.
Just a drop muslin screen.
Just so that while you're performing, my eye will go away from you and look at the whatever the picture is.
Yes, in order to accompany it.
The thing he's doing, does it involve, okay, the play's about to begin, he presses a button and he can go to China?
No.
Or he has to do the I got it, that's how it is. So he needs to be paying attention to the lines that are going on so he can now click the mouse.
Yes.
Yes, right? Click a mouse?
It's a remote control for the DVD player.
Press the remote.
Right.
Okay? In order to get the next thing. I got you now. All right, how much are you going to pay him?
I agreed to pay him $250 for the work for hire. In other words, before opening night, he would get $250. I have a copy of the canceled salary check representing his $250 salary. I also reimbursed him cash for buying DVDs themselves. I also reimbursed him for transportation and for the DVD burner that 3 weeks into the project, I hired him in July of 2004. Our opening night was August 19th. 3 weeks into the job, the defendant informed me that he would need to purchase a DVD burner in order to finish and create the work. He was doing this using a program.
The work, hold on a second. Do you guys have any written contract between the two of you?
No, we do not.
But the work that you hired him to do was to be able to project these images.
Correct.
Is there any dispute about that she hired you to be able to?
Nope.
Is there some way that you would be able to project these images without owning a DVD burner?
I said the best way to create these projections is by playing them off of DVDs. And when I did this. I offered Miss Ryan to split the cost of the DVD burner if I could retain it after the project was over.
And what she said?
She said that was fine.
Is that accurate?
No, ma'am, it's not. I okayed the initial expense from the defendant. I asked him how much this piece of equipment would cost. He said it would be about $200. I approved the expense. I said that's absolutely fine. We do have the budget to take care of that expense for you. And I wrote him one check. I have canceled checks indicating reimbursement in full for this DVD burner.
Did she, in fact, reimburse you in full?
She did.
Well, then, if you're supposed to keep it, what did you think when she gave you the other half?
When I gave her the receipts, I reminded her of our agreement to split the cost of it if I could retain it after the project was over. She said that was fine.
No, ma'am.
And then what? And then she just wanted to give you birthday gifts and gave you the other 90 bucks?
She gave it to me as part of the compensation.
Right, but it's a gift because she didn't have to. In other words, there was a certain set price and set contract between the two of you, right? So what you're saying is she just showered you with an extra $90.
She gave me as part of the compensation, though.
No, you keep saying that. But most people's bosses, when they agree your salary is X, don't say, and let me shower you, by the way, with a little more, just because you're cute. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
Your Honor, I did pay the defendant half reimbursement of that DVD burner, which I'll present to you the original receipt and the canceled check. The defendant was pressuring me, where's my extra $100? I need the rest of the money for the DVD burner. You didn't pay me for the rest of the DVD burner. So I said, okay, you know, I'm busy learning 86
Why did you only pay the half at first?
I paid him half at first. To be honest with you, Your Honor, I'm really not sure why I gave him half, but I did give him half. He asked me for the second half.
Because he says that the reason you gave him half is because you guys had a deal. See, one possible reason you did that is that he's telling me the truth about having struck some kind of agreement with him about the DVD player. Why in this case did you pay half? Do you have an answer for that question?
At the moment, I can't give you a clear answer, Your Honor, but I will indicate that I did reimburse him fully for the DVD burner.
Okay. Now, of that there's no dispute that in fact
he did cash the check.
There's no dispute that she reimbursed you fully, right? Okay, so then what happened?
Well, what happens is we get to opening night, and very simply, the projections were not ready. They didn't function. They didn't work.
What do you mean?
They were misfiring. They weren't working. They weren't in coordination with.
What do you mean they were misfiring?
For instance, Mr. Sansone can attest to this a little better as well. A certain scene where we would be talking about Leni Riefenstahl's contribution to history. Toshiba was on the screen at one point.
Toshiba.
Which is the name of the projector, and there were no images. Some of the images were off. Some of the images.
So how many performances did you do?
We had 5.
And this happened in every performance?
The first 2 were sketchy. They did improve as for the final 3 performances. And by the final performance, they were running fine.
Now, in terms of your, Toshiba would be a bad thing. All right. Now, your agreement with him was you would pay him $250 up front, and then what?
And then after, I would pay him $30 per performance.
Okay, so that would be another $150.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, though, the $150 were not paid to him because what?
The production ran out of money. The Fringe Festival works as a co-op. We pay $500 to get in the festival. The festival collects all ticket monies, and then after the festival is closed, they go through all the receipts and send disbursement to the person who paid the $500. Obviously, with 150 shows, it takes a while for this organization to process those funds.
So the reason that you didn't pay him the $150 is that you hadn't gotten paid by the show yet?
Exactly. By the festival. Exactly. I had not received my ticket.
It's not because you feel that his work was unworthy?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
not
so
at all.
You had every intention of paying him?
Absolutely, ma'am.
The money hadn't come, and
I indicated to him in an email, if in the interim you would like to keep the DVD burner as your full compensation, you can certainly do that.
You emailed him that?
I did.
Do you have a copy of the email?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did he email you back?
Yes, he did. He refused the offer.
Tell me what's going on here.
Within each, I did a series of about 1 minute. They're essentially 1 minute short movies, 1 to 10 minute short movies. And within that time, the actors, as being live, often improvised, sometimes blew their lines, things like that, and so the timing changed. The timing was never accurate. So this is what she's talking about the timing being off. The actors were never consistent with their timing. From the original timing they gave me.
But wait, but you wouldn't be doing it by timing. Wouldn't you be paying attention to what they said and then?
But they were. It was say if you put a movie on television, and you were doing something in front of that movie, making a speech about that movie, and it changed in the amount of time you told that speech every different time that you gave it. The movie on the television behind you is going to stay the same. That's the way it was.
Yeah, but yours isn't, because you've got a remote control, and aren't you pressing to change the image?
I did. Well, what I would do is pause it, and the reason that as she said, the projections misfired. It's because the DVD players she bought were the bottom of the barrel DVD players. She bought the cheapest thing she could buy.
And therefore they did what?
When I would fast forward to catch up with the actors on the DVD players, the DVDs would start switching scenes, would switch jump ahead chapters in the DVDs, and eventually they shut down. And that's why she saw Toshiba on the screen. On the last 3 performances, I decided not to try and catch up with the actors. And even though they moved much faster than they had originally in rehearsal, when I timed it out to make the projections, I just let it be. I just let it play straight through.
The bottom line was you learned that you can't fast forward.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you. Now, hold on one second. Wow, for a guy who really didn't know what he was doing, thanks so much again for all your hard work on the show. It far exceeded my wildest expectations, and it was a pleasure to work with you.
The plaintiff claims the defendant had serious misfiring issues. Will he have to pay for the DVD burner? Judge Milian rules next. So the DVD misfired. Are all DVDs pretty much the same?
Yes.
Do you know that because you bought a bottom of the line?
Yes.
That's why, huh? It works, huh?
Yes, it does.
Good. Going inside the court.
Judging from your emails, it wasn't so deplorable a job that you should have a right to keep 150. In fact, judging by your testimony, it wasn't so deplorable a job that you should have a right to keep the 150. According to you, you always had every intention of paying the 150. You didn't because you can't afford it. That is not an answer, okay? Now, what happens is he ends up keeping the burner. You say, it was a gift, Judge, and I'm sorry, but I have some difficulty with that. Even though I find a little bit suspicious that she ended up paying for half the burner first and then half later, that is just as consistent with your version, which is she was paying for half and you're paying for half, as it is with the version that she didn't have a lot of money. Okay, so you know that this doesn't happen. Your compensation was $250 up front and $30 for each performance for a total of $150. You deserve your $150. If you have a problem with the festival, it's your problem. And so I am ordering you to go ahead and pay to him the $150 remaining balance. Now your counterclaim against them is $360. Tell me what your $360 is.
I am counterclaiming to retain the DVD burner,
okay,
which was given to me in
We've already
compensation.
got that, so you can't sue her for it. What's the next thing?
And the $160 that she is remaining that she owes me for compensation.
Okay, all right. And what's the other $10 for?
For supplies purchased that I provide a receipt for.
Is that accurate?
No, ma'am. I've reimbursed him
she took
for
it from
everything.
me.
I
gave it to her.
have canceled reimbursement checks.
Okay, well, if you don't have any proof, then you can't claim it in court. That's how it works, okay? Because, I mean, it's your word against hers on that now, and we're talking about $10 anyway.
Right.
As far as the $150, I find that I'm ordering you to go ahead and entering a judgment in his favor for the $150. As far as the DVD burner is concerned, is that the DVD burner in that bag?
Yep.
Good. It's her DVD burner. On your claim against him, the DVD burner goes back to you. On his claim against you, the $150 goes to him. Do you both understand?
Yes.
We're going to make arrangements now for that transfer.
Of
okay?
course.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's your reaction to that?
I've always been willing to pay the defendant, and his refusal to do so is contingent on the fact that he had my property, apparently. As I've always claimed, I'm always happy to pay him. I'll be happy to pay him now. I'm happy to get my property back.
You couldn't somehow settle this without having to bring a $200 case in here?
I wish I could have done that, but he consistently refused to return my property. So I had no choice. I was left with no choice. What can you do?
All right, okay.
Thank
right
you.
down that way, and Douglas will see you. All right, come on in right over here. You satisfied with the verdict?
You know, it worked out pretty much the way I thought it would. Kind of a wash, pretty much the way I figured it would be. I really didn't want to bring it back into this environment, though it was fun to come here.
Okay, well, give me a critique of the show. Was it any good?
Yeah, it was a great show. She does a good job. Critique?
Yeah.
I'll give it 3.5 stars. How's that?
Out of?
Out of 4. How's that work?
All right, Harvey.
Is that all right?
If you make a deal with someone and it's not straight salary, get it in writing.